Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Die Hard.
Yes, I was gonna go a little bit different, but yeah, Die Hard.
Sorry about that. I had to. It's Die
Okay.
Hard.
Well, I had this whole big thing planned out. I was gonna razzle and dazzle my way to it, build some suspense, but here we are.
I mean, if you
So-
want, you can still do your whole razzle dazzle thing.
No, it's too late. Show's over.
Oh, it's never too late, man.
We
There's
can
always
do
time
that.
for
We're
razzle
just gonna go
dazzle.
straight to the after party for what is the Christmas special.
Fair enough. You don't want to do your razzle dazzle. That's all good.
I'm your host, Terry Moose, and I already got an early Christmas present. You know what it was?
What was it?
It was a cold. I know. You're all jealous that I, in fact, got a cold for Christmas. 'Cause I'm a
Man,
good little boy.
you got me beat there. I haven't even gotten anything yet that I
Yep.
know of, so you got me beat on that one.
A lot of people are jealous out there right now. I know they are. Catching a cold right before Christmas. I hope to spread it to everyone I know at Christmas parties. As they do say you should spread the joy.
Oh yeah, you always got to spread that joy, that Christmas cheer. I'm the other co-host, Bill, and as I said before, I haven't gotten anything special like a cold yet, so I'm still waiting on mine.
So, the hero of our story,
Santa Claus.
he does kind of make an appearance in Die Hard, but the real hero of Die Hard is John McClane, played by Bruce Willis. And he has gone to sunny Los Angeles to go see his wife,
And
who is estranged on Christmas Eve. Because this is a Christmas movie.
now
The best Christmas movie.
does he just have one kid or two kids?
It's two kids, but it's the one little girl that keeps on like talking to people that
okay.
we see a lot.
I
The
was
other
gonna
kid-
say, like,
I think the other one's a little younger.
that makes sense because like it showed pictures and like, but it always just shown one kid. Wow, I'm having trouble talking.
So Clayne's on the plane, and he's just making small talk with the guy next to him, and the guy is like, "You know what you really need to do when you get off the plane? You just gotta take off your shoes and your socks when you get to your hotel and just walk around on the carpet and curl your toes." And you don't think much about it. It's just like, okay, it's just normal small talk between
Yeah.
two dudes on a plane. They don't know each other, but it actually has a really big impact on the story.
Very big impact.
I thought it's very clever that they bring that around.
Excuse me. Sorry
Just
about that.
random dialogue. And then the guy also sees that McClane has a gun, and McClane's like, "Yeah, I'm a police officer. Don't worry about it." And so it's actually a really good opening setup
Yeah,
to
and
learn about our main character.
don't forget, those were the days when apparently a normal civilian or citizen could just be on a plane with a gun. Apparently.
Yeah, it does kind of tell you how old the movie must be. That like the guy sees that McClane has a gun, and he's just kind of like, "Oh, why does that guy got a gun?" But he doesn't freak out at all. He's just like, "That's a little weird."
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure, like,
Different times.
like I know this movie is an old movie, but I'm pretty sure even airports still had, metal detectors and, checks where people would get checked. Unless being a police officer is a completely different story.
I don't know.
It's like
The
that.
movie came out in 1988.
Like that. That is my one kind of thing of like, that seems a little iffy. How would he have gotten away with that? Unless being a cop is a different story.
Terrorism wasn't a big deal back then. Well, I mean, it existed, but it didn't have the same kind of zeitgeist it does nowadays.
You're not wrong there.
Like, it just really wasn't. I don't think it was quite in the forefront. I mean, I guess back in like the early 80s, there was some issues, but
I mean, you still either
over
way,
in,
you would
like the
think
Middle
that
East,
would
but
like raise some kind of concern while he's going through airport customs.
I mean, he's a police officer. He has the badge on him. I would assume that they would be like, "Why do you have a gun, sir?" Like, I'm sure he was at least asked some questions.
Yeah, I would have actually kind of liked to see that part of the movie. Not gonna lie.
But it wouldn't add anything to the movie, though, having like airport security mess with John when he's trying to get off the plane, being like, "Hey, bro, why do you have a gun, bro?"
I guess, but it would have just been kind of one of those like kind of funny, inconvenient, kind of deals. But
The movie's 2 hours long. I feel like it didn't need to have filler.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It wasn't necessary. It was already in. It was a 2 hour long. I mean, it doesn't feel like 2 hours, but you don't want to be adding anything extra when your movie's already that long. Runs a little long for a standard movie.
Honestly, like one of my favorite parts is when he's on the way to the tower.
With Argyle,
Argyle,
his driver.
Yeah, I for whatever reason I could not remember the limo driver's name. Like
Argyle seems like a good kid.
and he has some interesting taste in Christmas music.
Yeah. Argyle did have had an interesting idea of what he considered to be Christmas music.
I mean,
it was Christmas music technically.
Like I know we watch this movie every year for Christmas, but I for the love of God, I do not remember that song being in the movie.
Well, you're not going to remember all the details.
I guess. I mean, the movie's so long and it's so action packed.
Yeah, there's so much going on. It makes sense you'd miss a few small details like that. It's quite interesting because there is a big chance for them to essentially just give us a bunch of exposition with Argyle because he's trying to pump John for information on why he's in Los Angeles.
Yep, and John's just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he's very stone faced about it because it actually adds to his character because he's uncomfortable about this whole situation with his wife. You can tell he feels somewhat embarrassed.
Yeah,
that their relationship is so rocky, and so he can tell he's kind of like, what does this damn kid keep on asking me questions that he just doesn't want to answer? So yeah, it does a great job. It feels like it builds some character development, and it does a great job of showing us what the relationship with him and his wife is, rather than just expositioning it away with Argyle, which they could have easily done. Just had him just explain everything that was going on with the wife.
Oh yeah, Layla, and
instead Argyle kind of has to like drag it out of him, kicking and screaming what the information he does get out of John.
Yeah, and you got to give him props because usually most people that would be in that kind of situation, well, at least in John's case, like if I was in his position, I wouldn't have had the patience as long as he did. I probably would have told the dude to shut the fuck up and just leave me alone. But then again, I would have put myself in the situation because John chose to sit up front instead of in the back.
Yeah, that was kind of his own fault for doing that. Well, Argyle's just his angle is that he wants to make small talk because he's hoping for a bigger tip.
That and he was also a cab driver.
He's just making John angry when he does that.
Yeah. But yeah, Argyle, like, for the amount he's actually in the movie, the scenes anyway are just very well done.
Like, he actually does serve multiple purposes. He's not just shows up at the beginning of the movie and drops McClane off. Like, they don't have a bunch of extra random characters that just kind of appear and then disappear and never see him again, except for that very first guy that John sees on the plane. Like, everyone else that you really see kind of becomes at least a somewhat important character. Like, they kind of do multiple things.
Yeah, like
Because towards the end of the movie, you'll see Argyle actually comes back in and starts. He does useful things towards the end of the movie, which I thought was pretty nice. They just didn't have him sitting inside the limousine twiddling his thumbs the whole movie.
I mean, at least he wasn't alone. He was with the stuffed bear.
That is true. He was sitting in the back of that limousine drinking alcohol with the bear.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the thing is, I don't think Argyle realizes that John probably was going to get charged for that alcohol, because I'm sure they keep track of what is removed from like the little cooler they had in the back. So he would get a little bill in the mail, and he'd be like, "Why does it say that there is a bottle of whatever whiskey or scotch or whatever it was that he pulled out and was drinking?" I mean, it's just one of those things that crossed my mind. Like, our guy would have got found out that he'd been drinking the booze in the back.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably be mad about that because like, especially if it's a limo, like that was hired by like a very high end corporation.
Actually, you know what? They might not even know, because it's Takagi was the one that sent the limo.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he wouldn't. Yeah, John wouldn't have even known, would he have? Yeah, that would have just been the corporation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have paid for whatever whatever he had used from the limousine service. Oh, so yeah, Argyle he's in the clean, man.
Yep.
Argyle had this figured out. No wonder why he was just chilling in the back, and he had no problem doing it. He knew that was all going to get paid for by the whatever the name of the company was that Holly works for, John's wife.
And like,
I feel like we're getting too sidetracked on
something
that's not really important. So John shows up at they go to, I can't remember the name of the company. It's a big building though.
I'm just going to refer to it as the tower.
Well, I know Takagi's
no,
kind of like in charge. He's like I don't even know, like the president of the company. I'm sure at some point they even say what his title is, but John's showing up to see his wife, and when he goes in and he goes to the computer to figure out where she's at, there was another interesting little tidbit, because he puts in Holly McLean, and she doesn't show up, and so then he puts in her maiden name, and then she pops up, and you can just tell he's really angry about it.
Oh yeah.
That she's using her maiden name. It upsets him a lot. I thought that was really clever little piece right there. They kind of help us see how their relationship is just that rocky, that she's using her maiden name.
And it's the Nakatomi Plaza. I just looked it up.
Nakatomi. Okay. Yeah, I think we're just going to keep calling it the tower, probably.
Yeah, more than likely.
So
No.
John goes up the elevator. We get to see some Christmas trees, and there's lights and stuff. And he gets in there, but they're playing classical music, which I thought was a little weird for a Christmas Eve party.
All up until then, you were hearing like actual Christmas music or variations of Christmas music. And then you get to this Christmas party, and no Christmas music? Like, wouldn't it just be a fancy party at that point?
Don't ask me. I think it's just that Takagi, wants it to be classy.
I mean, I guess. And the one thing that got me, and you could tell that this is definitely an 80s movie, Takagi, John, his wife, walk into her office on a guy doing a line of coke on her desk. And does not get in trouble at all.
Takagi even says to him, he's like Ellis. And Ellis is like, yeah, like, this is John McClane. This is Holly's husband. He's a police officer from New York.
Oh yeah, that's right.
This is like, oh shit.
I completely forgot about that.
Ellis very much feels like a very 80s slick back like businessman.
Yeah, and then he like tried flaunting the fact that he got John's wife a Rolex.
like I said, it's he's such an 80s businessman. He just breathes 80s business, sleazy, scummy 1980s businessman.
Like if my boss were to walk in introducing a coworker's husband to me, and that's a police officer, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I got your wife a Rolex.
1980s businessman.
That's just asking to get my nose broke. Especially a New York police officer. That is fucking played by Bruce Willis.
Hey man, you got to go watch Wolf of Wall Street. That essentially sums up the 1980s businessman.
Oh, I actually wanna watch that movie again.
We'll review it at some point, but yeah, that's the like Wolf of Wall Street is essentially, they have really scummy businessmen, because the 1980s businessman kind of is the personification of just like an awful person.
Yeah.
That's why Lex Luthor, from Superman, like in the 80s, they turned him into a businessman, because before then he was a mad scientist, because mad scientists, for decades had been the personification of evil. And then 1980s roll around and like, a lot of really awful businessmen. Let's change Lex Luthor into a businessman in the 80s.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, that's essentially what Ellis is. He's just an awful person. Super sleazy. He's just trying to get into Holly's pants, and that's actually a big part of when John and Holly get together and they're sitting in the office and they're discussing, their marriage. And John's like, all he wants to do is he's just trying to get you in bed, and I love Holly's response, which was, I'm just trying to get his private bathroom.
Right? Like, he wants to get in bed with me, I want his office.
Yep, she wants that private bathroom he has. Like, this is a woman that has plans.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, you could tell she probably would stop at nothing to get where she wants in that company.
Yeah, she's very motivated. You can tell that, and she has a very strong personality, which is probably why her and John butt heads so much.
Yep.
They both have very strong personalities, so you can kind of see why they're having some issues with their marriage, because neither of them will budge.
Nope. And that could also make for a good thing, so then at least you know where the other one stands.
I'm just saying that they do a great job of essentially up to that point kind of setting things up and giving us just letting us see like why their marriage is kind of rocky.
Yeah. And
it's well done. Like I said, they don't exposition their way through it. They just show us like those little things like that.
The subtle arguments and all that. Like, and that's honestly like one of the reasons why I like writing. These older movies.
It's great writing. Movies nowadays just don't do that. They just exposition their way too much. Yep.
Just like, we're not happy together anymore, so we went our separate ways, but I'm still in love with her. Yeah, no. They need to take a page out of the 80s.
They really show. And then we see Holly leave to go
do a speech.
Do like a big speech, and then John takes off his shoes and his socks, and he's kind of just chilling in the office after their arguments, and we see him pull out his wallet, and we see the pictures of the kids.
Yep. And then
it's a really humanizing moment.
Yep. And
then he flips over the one, and on the back it says, "We love you, Dad." And I'm just like, oh man, pulling on the heartstrings.
Right?
They know what they're doing. It feels very real.
And that was like a very like almost like touching, cementing kind of moment. Like, hey, we're really driving this home with like the whole family and all of that.
Yeah, he's a loving, caring father, and Holly is a loving, caring mother. It's just that they're having, some troubles.
Yep. And I honestly don't remember Argyle giving him a card, though.
Yeah, Argyle does before he goes upstairs. Before he leaves, he says, "Hey, man, give you the card. Call me if things don't work out with you and the wife. I can drive you wherever you want."
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Argyle tells him that before he goes up.
And then Yeah, yeah. Isn't it like right after that he actually calls Argyle?
I believe, yeah, he does. Well, before he calls Argyle, we see that van show up with the bad guys in it,
Oh
and they
yeah.
go in and they start, assassinating people and putting themselves in a position.
Oh yep, yep. That's
Because when he
right.
tries to call Argyle, they're cutting the phone lines to stop people from, giving
Getting
a chance to
help.
call out.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Because the
right.
baddies are now here. The baddies have shown up. They're going to do bad things. And so, yeah, he's right in the middle of calling Argyle because he thinks that things are going south with the wife. Even if she comes back in, they're just going to fight again, I'm sure, is what John's thinking.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like even before like his call with Argyle got cut off, he's like, "Yeah, man, I don't know, still up in the air."
Yeah, yeah, they were just butting heads the whole time she was in there when they were talking. So yeah, but right in the middle of the trying to call him, all the lines get cut.
Yeah, and then we get to see the late great Alan Rickman.
Yeah, one of the greatest actors in history.
Yes.
Man, he does such a great job
Right? Like
as a bad guy. He just plays such a great bad guy.
he
So
truly
good.
does. Like I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen a whole lot of his movies. Like the first time I seen him in a movie would have been Die Hard as a kid. But like other than that, I just like mainly since then I've mainly seen him in, the Harry Potter movies. And even then he was a faux bad guy, but
He did Robin Hood. I think it was in like 1992. He was really good as like the sheriff of Rottingham.
oh, I think I saw that one. I don't remember.
Yeah, the man was a goddamn genius when it came to acting.
Yeah, like
But yeah, so in the movie, he's Hans Gruber, and they've come here to rob the Takanami Tower Plaza,
Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi Plaza. I should have just said tower.
Yeah.
Why am I still trying to do this? But yeah, they're there to rob the place, and this is they've got plans because Hans is an evil mastermind. He's got this all figured out, and they come blasting in, firing. And John's on the phone. John's like, "What's going on here? I'm hearing gunfire," and he's kind of freaking out, and he forgets to grab his shoes,
And
which makes
socks.
perfect. Yeah. So he's running around barefoot, and I
Yes.
don't really blame him for not thinking about his shoes because he has to get the heck out of there before they find him.
The dude on the airplane was the secret villain all along.
Yeah, the dude on the airplane really, really f's up John's day because he told him to take off his shoes. It's so funny. Yeah, it becomes such an integral part of the whole movie. It's just that throwaway line, like, "Yeah, just take off your shoes, man. Take off your shoes and socks. It'll feel real great. Just really curl your toes on the carpet. It's just amazing."
Now, honestly though, if I was in John's, well, feet at this point, like once I got to an area where I would be safe for at least a minute or two, like he's wearing a beater. I would have taken that off, tore it up, and at least put it around my feet in a way, so then at least I'd have some protection just in case.
Well, if you see when John starts taking on the bad guys as they're essentially traveling around the tower, setting up all doing their evil plans, when he kills the first bad guy, when they get into that big fight and they roll and they fall down the stair steps and the guy breaks his neck and is killed. Like he tries to take some of those guys' shoes,
Oh yeah,
but they don't fit, and he's like,
and if I'm not mistaken, he says, "Damn foreigners, not having the same shoe size."
yeah, something about how he has to find he just killed this like huge guy and his shoe size is the same size as like his sister's or something like that.
Yep. No.
So it's amazing how it just becomes an integral part of the movie. Is he's just like, I just want to find a pair of shoes when I'm fighting these terrorist robber guys. How hard is that?
Now, do you think he actually like checked all of the shoes of the people of the bad guys he killed?
He keeps checking the
or
shoes at least when he gets a chance. Sometimes, he's dealing with multiples, so if he kills one, he might. Sometimes he doesn't have a chance because there's other bad guys there. So it's not like he can run over and be like, "Excuse me, while I check this guy, see if this guy has a shoe size that fits me." There are multiple times he just kind of has to run away when he's fighting them.
that
So
is
it's
true.
not like every guy he has a chance to check the shoes, but he does it when he can. And then I guess we got to mention what happens to poor Takagi.
Oh yeah, poor Takagi.
Yeah,
But like Hans is just so smart about it. He's just, walking through the crowd, just naming off. I'm not sure if he was naming off like the things that the other like CEOs or whatever accomplished. Because
he's talking about he's doing Takagi's like full like profile Takagi, and talking about like when he came over to the States and like where he graduated like college and stuff. And he's walking through the crowd because he's like, "Which one of you is Takagi? Which one of you is Takagi?" And like the whole time it's like, wow, he's got all this information on this guy. He doesn't know who he is, and then finally he finishes like essentially like the profile on Takagi. And then he turns and looks right at him. He's like, "Hello, Mr. Takagi." I'm like, you knew the whole time where he was in the crowd, who he was, what he looks like, and everything. Because Hans has obviously done his homework. He was just doing that to fuck with him. He's just playing mind games.
Right? And I gotta say this, Takagi, a very, very accomplished man. Holy crap.
Yeah, that was like, there's a reason why he was in charge of the building.
Like at first, like, because like he was like walking past a bunch of like other older people, and I'm like sitting there thinking, all right, maybe he's just like naming off these guys as everybody's accomplishments, and it's like, oh no, that was all Takagi.
Yep. But yeah, Takagi won't tell him anything though. Like I said, he's a stand-up guy. He's like, "Give me the passwords," and Takagi's like, "No, can't do that. Doesn't matter what you do. You can't blackmail the company. Do whatever you want. I won't tell you shit." Essentially, and Hans is just like, "Oh well, I try to do it the easy way," and he just blows Takagi's brains out, and it's like, whoa, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, and at this point, John's watching the whole thing go down.
Yeah, and John can't do shit because all he has at that time, I believe, is just his handgun still, and there's like 4 or 5 of them in there. He knows he can't take them and save Takagi.
And
he has to run away.
I want to say, like, after he ran away, didn't he say something about, "Why didn't I shoot?"
I believe, yeah, he kind of hesitates. He kind of wishes he had tried to save Takagi, but he could have done it realistically. And I don't think he actually thought that Hans was going to shoot Takagi yet at that point, because he hadn't really seen Hans actually, kill anybody.
Right.
And so I think that was kind of when we realized this. He's like, oh shit, these guys are serious. Like, because Hans did not hesitate to kill Takagi the moment Takagi said he wouldn't give him the passwords to the vault. Because that's what Hans is really after. He's after what's in the vault. Oh, that only took us 30 minutes to get to that. Find out what Hans what Hans is actually up to. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
And like,
because it was probably about 30 minutes into the movie before we find out what Hans is actually up to.
Yeah, roughly 35, 40 minutes maybe.
Yeah, something like that in the movie before we find out what him and the guys are there for. It's all about the money.
And I love it because, like, right after that's when the brother with glasses is going up to the floor that John is on to do something. I think to place charges or something like that.
Yeah, it's all part of Hans's plan.
And that's when, like you discussed it earlier. Brother with glasses is the one that John breaks his neck and...
Well, it's Carl's brother. I don't even remember what Carl's brother's name is.
That's why I'm just calling him brother with glasses.
Carl's brother. He's not important. He dies so fast. He's like the first one to die out of the robbers.
But like John is also smart. I want to say almost as smart as Hans, because he uses Carl's brother as a ploy to get information, essentially. Not through Carl's brother, but through Carl's brother's body.
Yeah, because he hides up in the elevator shaft and he's listened to him talk after he sends the body down.
Yep, which the body on the shirt says, "Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho." I loved that.
You can buy that shirt off Amazon, by the way.
Seriously?
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Yep, it's a thing.
Oh, I gotta get me one.
Yep. I keep threatening to buy one for Christmas as well. One of these years I'm wearing it around because it's a great quote. And Hans is like, now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. And it's just like, oh, it's so good. I love it. But yeah, it is quite interesting to see John essentially just using Carl's brother's body to collect information about them. And then he uses it against them. Yeah, there really does so much. The movie is like a bit of a cat and mouse game between John and Hans.
Yeah, and then like John, he also gets a walkie or a transmitter or whatever off of Carl's brother, and he goes up to the roof, and he doesn't change the channel for it on it or anything.
Yeah, I thought that was a little.
And he
like,
starts
Channel 9. I'll just keep it on Channel 9. Like it's not like any of the bad guys are gonna hear that.
And he starts yelling for help, and actually gets through to the police dispatch or something like that. So if he was able to get through to the police without changing the channels or anything, wouldn't that mean every time Hans's group was talking, the police would hear it anyway?
I'm not really sure. Did he like how that works with those? Like, did he dial like a number when he tried to get through the police dispatch and he just happened to be on Channel 9? Or how that works with like those walkie-talkie.
Like I just like really like to know, because like it really didn't show him like changing anything or whatever, and he just starts yelling for help.
Wait, remember? Actually, I believe Hans kind of explains it because of how the tower works with all the cement and everything. The radio signals can't get to the outside because that's how he knows he's up on the roof. Because he's like, where could he get enough signal to be able to contact the police? And the only place is on the roof. So even though they're talking to each other on Channel 9, no one outside of the building can hear that because the signal's not strong enough. Only on the roof.
Okay, then that would make sense then. All right, cool.
Yep.
I understand now.
Explaining, and it fits. I don't even have to try to sit there and do anything extra. It fits perfectly within the story. It fits with what Hans says. It's not breaking. The movie's not breaking its own rules. Man, it's such a good movie.
It really is. They really do follow like actual, almost real world things to a T.
Logic,
yeah, logic.
They're not breaking things and cheating and stuff for convenience.
No, like, and it's fucking awesome.
I love how though when he gets a hold of the police and the police are like, "Sir, this is a restricted channel. Like, you should call 911 if you have an emergency." And McClane's like, "F you, go shove it where the sun don't shine. There are terrorists taking over this building. Quit fucking around and get your asses down here." And you can tell the operators are just like, "God, so annoying. God." It's like, okay, I mean, I think I'd be a little bit more excited if some guy was yelling over the radio that terrorists had taken over this tower and they had like 30 hostages. I think I'd be like, oh, we should probably take that seriously.
And then they were saying something about like, if you don't get off this channel, we're going to have to give you like a citation or something. Yeah,
from like
and then
he's
FFA
like, or some shit.
He's like, okay, come down here and fucking arrest me. Just get your ass down here.
You can't even blame him for it, because remember earlier he had pulled the fire alarm.
Yeah.
That hadn't worked because they essentially just called the fire department and said, "Oh, sorry guys, false alarm. Turn around." That's why he's up on the roof, trying to do it that way.
Oh yeah. And as he's like trying to get dispatch to come down, that's when Hans's men get up there and they start firing at John. And you just hear the dispatch lady be like, "All right, maybe we should just send somebody over there."
Yeah, like she hears the gunshots and she like throws off like her little like earbud thing she was listening, And she's like, because it was really loud, but I would like to think that she thought to herself, that sounds like gunfire. At least I would hope that's what she thought to herself.
Right.
But yeah, so then we get one of the new, I guess, major characters that kind of appears.
Yes.
Sergeant L.
Powell. Yes. And he's actually also like one of my other favorite actors, mainly just because like I grew up watching him on Family Matters. And then to see him in such a serious like role, that actually kind of like blew my mind as a kid.
Yeah, it was kind of it was pretty different from Family Matters, which was, just really wholesome, a happy like family show.
Yeah, and he's just Sergeant Al's just in a like what, a convenience store more or less, or a gas station.
Yeah, he's at a gas station because you get to see what the price of the gas is.
Oh yeah, and it's like
when he walks outside.
Yep, and he's like, I guess he's getting snacks or something for his wife that is pregnant.
Yep. By the way, the gas price was 75 cents. 75-cent gas. Welcome to the 80s.
If only gas prices were like that nowadays.
Well, inflation.
Yep.
Yeah, he what is it? It's like a bunch of Twinkies he's picking up for his wife.
Like a bunch of Twinkies.
She's pregnant, and I guess that's like what her pregnancy urge to eat is Twinkies.
Yep, and then the clerk is just like, uh-huh. Yeah,
I like how
sure,
the clerk
guy
is such a dick. He just assumes Al's gonna eat all those Twinkies himself.
I mean,
oh yeah, sure, they're for your wife. Yeah, sure, fatty.
I mean, you look at him, you probably wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, so Al shows up there, and he's essentially sent to investigate because they keep getting all those strange, weird calls from the tower. So he shows up, and he's just like, and he's singing a little Christmas song because this is a Christmas movie. If I remember correctly, he's singing like the weather outside is frightful or something.
I believe so.
He's like humming it. He goes in and he's talking to the guy at the desk, and he's like, "Hey, Seal, what's going on? You guys have any problems?" And I'm like, "No, nothing's going on. I'm just watching the game. If you want to check things out." And Al's like, "Okay, well, he's walking along, do. But then he turns around because, let's be honest, he's kind of a lazy police officer.
Yeah.
But it saves his life because if you think about it, he'd actually got far enough and he'd actually gone up in the elevator, he would have been dead.
Yep. He would have, because like as he's walking, you just see a machine gun or an AUG right around the corner, just waiting.
It's a good thing Al was being kind of lazy at his job, actually.
Yeah, and
he would have died. And
he's like, "Well, everything looks good here. You have a nice night."
And I can't even blame him. I mean, it's Christmas Eve. He probably wants to be home with his wife, who's pregnant. Who the hell wants to be out there doing that?
Right.
So yeah, he turns around and goes to leave. Of course, now John's like really pissed because he's been fighting these terrorists / robber guys, and he's killed a couple of them, and he's not too happy anymore that the goddamn police aren't getting their shit together and doing something about this. And so we get one of the best parts of the movie, in my opinion, because he throws one of the robbers out of the window right onto Al's police car. And gives Al a little Christmas surprise there. Just having this body fall out of the sky right out of your vehicle.
And then get shot at on top of it.
Yeah, and then Al freaks out and starts reversing, and then all the gunfire starts because the robbers realize the jig is up, and they try to take Al out. Thankfully, Al survives.
Yeah.
And so now the police are there.
And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that the robber that John threw out the window, I want to say his name was Mark.
Yeah, there was like 12 or 14 of them all together, and at one point or another in the movie, they all get named.
Yep, I think that one's name was Mark, and like it kind of hit me like halfway through the movie. I was like sitting there thinking, what if that one guy he threw out the window had the right shoe size he needed.
That was the one guy that had the same shoe size. Yeah,
Like,
John should have checked before he threw him out the window because that guy has his shoes on when he gets thrown out that window. His
Yep.
shoes are on him.
Yes, they are.
John did not take his shoes off the check.
So, like, it would just be like, I wonder, I can't help but wonder if maybe John probably thought the same thing. Like, maybe I should have checked his shoes before I threw him out the window.
Well, it's too late. The opportunity was missed.
It was. And then, like Al's backing up and all that. And honestly, he sustained a little more injury than I would have expected from, like, yeah, granted, Mark's body landed on the car and probably broke the windshield. But with how he was backing up and with what happened, how did he get so badly hurt?
Remember when he backs up, he like literally falls off the edge of the plaza.
Yeah.
His police vehicle does, and it's just kind of like hanging there because there's a bit of a drop off.
Oh yeah, that is true. That is true.
I think he just got kind of banged up when that happened. But it got him out of the line of fire.
It did, and I swear to God, while he was backing up, he must have been eating Twinkies or something. Because, like, he opens up his car door after he fucking crash lands, and just, like, wrappers and whatnot are just kind of, like, falling out of his car.
Hey, man, those wrappers are for his pregnant wife.
Here you go, honey, I brought you back wrappers.
Yep. Let's be honest, all those Twinkies were not for his wife. That was an excuse.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. His wife's probably not even actually pregnant.
No, it seems very much that she is pregnant. Like it's brought up later on when him and John are talking.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
On the radio. So the rest of the police show up, and like the police chief shows up, or like Sergeant Powell's like boss does, but he's a complete idiot. Like the man has no idea what he's doing.
No, God no.
And you can kind of tell that Powell is like the only one that seems to like actually have any idea, because the guy just keeps complaining and saying John's doing a bad job and he shouldn't be a cowboy, and he's causing all this damage to the building and he's endangering people's lives, and it's just like, wow, this guy's kind of an asshole and he's not actually doing anything useful.
No.
Because they do try to send in the SWAT to deal with the bad guys, but Hans knew that eventually SWAT would show up, and so he's kind of had the guys set up. I like how the one robber, like he can find like the confection stand where he sets up at, and so then he just keeps grabbing candy bars and eating them.
I mean, I'll be honest.
I always love that part.
Like if I was in that situation, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, that's just it. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I mean, we're robbing this place. We're gonna get like $500 million. Might as well steal a few candy bars while I'm here.
Exactly. I mean, hey, and if you get busted, I mean, yeah, bigger things to worry about than, oh, hey, a few stolen candy bars.
Yeah, I highly doubt he's going to get charged for stealing the candy bars if they, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah, they are set up. They are totally prepared for the SWAT team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, they are, like, essentially armed to the fucking teeth.
Yeah, they have it all figured out. Like, they are prepared for the whole thing. Hans doesn't even blink when they show up. He's just like, yawn, okay. They showed up a little bit earlier than what I was planning for my schedule, but it's fine. Not a big deal. Like, Hans has it all under control at this point still, even though he's lost a couple people. Yeah. And John's still running around. Hans isn't that worried even now at this point.
And the only thing Hans says to his men at that point is, just wound them. Which kind of surprised me. Like, if you don't want any trouble, why just wound them? Just kill them.
Because by wounding them, that means they've got to send in even more resources to pick them up and carry them out of there.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
It's kind of like in Vietnam, a lot of times the Viet Cong would just injure U.S. soldiers rather than kill them, because if you injured one, it meant now you could take 5 or 6 guys out of the fight, because they're trying to get that guy back to somewhere safe to patch him up.
Yeah, that would make sense. That is smart.
So by injuring them, they're essentially crippling the police. Now they're spending all this time and resources trying to make sure those guys that were injured, they get them back out of there. They get them somewhere safe. And by not killing the cops, it means the cops are not going to be as aggressive because, you know, the cops aren't exactly big fans of cop killers. He doesn't want to anger the police to that extent. So by just injuring and wounding all of the cops, it's probably to Han's advantage rather than to kill a bunch of them.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But then something finally does go wrong for Hans because one of the guys John's by this point is killed had the detonators Hans was going to use.
Ah, yes, the detonators.
To blow the building up.
And now, like, why would Al's superior, like, if sending people in didn't work, why would he be like, all right, let's send in the rover?
Because he's just really incompetent. Let's be honest. And like his boss, he's just dumb. He just sits around and complains and sits on his hands throughout the whole movie.
And if I'm not mistaken, Hans's group ended up using a rocket launcher against that thing?
Yeah, like they are well prepared. They have a lot of stuff. Like they were not worried about that ATV at all. They just blow it the hell up. Yeah, they essentially are outgunning the police, even with the SWAT there.
And like during this whole time, like Al and John are communicating and talking. Like,
oh yeah, they're becoming bros.
Yep, they're becoming tight. They're becoming close. They're learning a lot more about each other.
Well, you know, they're both police officers. You know, they both served in the line of the thin blue wall. You know, they have a camaraderie that they're developing.
Yes, and as this is going on, Ellis gets a bright idea. He's going to talk to Hans.
Like I said, it's that 1980s sleazy businessman thing that he's got going on.
I really hate Ellis, man. Like,
the thing is, Ellis is just a useful idiot. Like, I find it. I can't really hate Ellis. He's just he just thinks he's got a big brain, but he doesn't.
Honestly, like, before he even went in to talk to Hans, like, he did a few bumps of coke.
Like I said, he's not Ellis is not nearly as smart as what he thinks he is. And you can see that with Hans. Like, Hans is sitting there, like, essentially making fun of Ellis, and Ellis doesn't even realize that Hans is making fun of him.
Yeah,
he's being super sarcastic with Ellis. He's like, oh yes, Ellis, of course, you figured me all out. And I'm just like, oh shit, and Ellis is like, yeah. And I'm like, oh man, this guy has no idea.
Yeah, like Hans is just playing him like a fucking fiddle. The only useful information Ellis actually gave him was John's name and occupation.
John McClane.
Other than that, like, I'm pretty sure Hans already knew that Ellis and John weren't friends or anything like that.
Well, the thing is, Hans does believe that John McClane was Ellis's +1. Because he has no reason not to believe it. Because when John's on the radio and he's like, Ellis, tell him we're not besties. Tell him we're not friends. Tell him I just met you today. And Ellis is like, whoa, man, we've been friends for like ever, dude. Like, why are you doing this to me, man? And it's just like, So Ellis unintentionally gives John cover though, because it means that Hans doesn't realize Holly is John's wife, because if Hans had realized that a lot sooner, John would have given himself up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If Hans had figured out that was his wife, he would have been like, oh, I got your wife here. Because you see that when Ellis first comes in there and Hans is like, oh, I have a very special friend here that wants to talk to you. And you can just kind of tell John's like, oh shit, he's got my wife. And then he hears Ellis's voice, and he's just like, oh, this freaking moron.
But like at the same time though, like, if I was in Ellis's position, like already knowing that John is causing Hans a lot of trouble, a lot of issues. He's already killed quite a few of Hans's men. I
Yeah,
would not
like
sit there and be like,
4
yeah,
or
yeah,
5 by this point.
yeah. Me and John, we're tight. We're close friends. We've known each other for years. Because then, Hans just be like, well, give me the information you want. You're gonna die anyway because, well, you brought him here, and like there was no,
Like I said, Ellis's overconfidence is what does him in. Like John tries to save him. John's like, "Hey man, just tell him the truth. We're not friends. Don't do this. Hans is just gonna kill you." And Ellis just doesn't believe him.
which is a genuine. I don't want to say shame because Ellis is a sleazeball, but
Like I said though, his death essentially does throw Hans off the trail. Because Hans has been, I mean, like he gets John's name, but because Holly's using her maiden name, he doesn't make that connection. And so now he thinks that John was just Ellis's like +1, like Ellis said, oh, it was my +1. So he doesn't expect Holly for like a really long time. It doesn't almost until the end of the movie before he finally figures out that Holly was John's wife. Because remember, she put the one family photo where they're all together. She at the beginning of the movie, she had put that face down in her office, and it's just a little thing, just putting it down, one of those little things that happens, and it just never crosses Hans' mind to pick up that photo and look at it.
And we probably kind of failed to mention Hans is basing himself in Holly's office.
I think he just liked that office. I think it just happened to be a happy coincidence that that's the one he decides to like set up in.
Yeah.
I think he just likes the chair or something, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it has a nice view of like the front of the building, and
yes, it might just be the location. Just works out well.
Yeah, because like that's the only thing I could really think of. Because like there's a lot of times where you see him looking outside down at what's going on.
Yeah, so it might just be that location in the building is why he set up in there.
Prime location.
But yeah, like I said, Ellis's death throws Hans off the trail, though.
Way
so
off.
he was useful. Even if he was a sleazeball, he was useful.
All right. I'll give it to Ellis there. He was useful. I still don't like the little prick.
And this whole time, they're still cracking the codes to get the vault open.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because Hans asks his safe cracker guy. He's like, "Hey, so what's going on?" He's like, "Going pretty good, but that last final lock, because there's 7 locks." He's like, "I can't get through the last lock." He doesn't have a way to do it. And Hans is like, "I got this." And we've been trying to figure out, and we haven't gotten quite that far yet, but it's just really interesting because you're trying to figure out how Hans is supposed to get the 7th lock open, because the safe cracker straight out just says it's not doable. But we're getting close to that because Hans is really happy when the FBI shows up.
Yes,
and it's like, why would he be happy the FBI is showing up? I mean,
and
those guys know what they're doing.
One of them is referred to as Big Johnson, and the other one's referred to as Little Johnson. And ironically, Little Johnson is bigger than Big Johnson.
Well, when the FBI shows up and they said, "I'm Special Agent Johnson. This is my friend Special Agent Johnson," and I'm just like, "Oh, that's not confusing when you both have the same last name."
Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson and Johnson.
Do you think they invented the baby shampoo?
It's possible. It might have just been a little thing, like an inside joke of some kind. Like maybe Johnson and Johnson was like, I don't know, involved in the movie somehow, and this was just like a little nod to it. I don't know. I always thought it was kind of funny that they were Johnson and Johnson. I feel like there was a joke in there somewhere, like an inside joke we just don't know about.
And
that's why they're named that.
We kind of forgot to mention a little important detail: the newsmen.
I mean, I guess in a way it's kind of important because, like, for the longest time, there's the newspaper guy that kind of gets wind of what's going on, and he's been showing up and kind of snooping around outside the building with his crew. And it does pay off eventually, because it just kind of like it takes a while for that arc to pay off, because he doesn't really seem like he's actually doing anything useful, which is probably why I haven't mentioned him before. He does eventually become important to the plot, like towards the end of the movie.
Yep, he does.
And you figure out why he's there. Like, there is a build-up, there is a setup, there is a reason why he's there, but it's just kind of like, why is... Kind of like, yeah, I guess the police would show up. I mean, the news guys would show up, but it's like they aren't really doing anything for a really long time till towards the end of the movie. So, at this point, like, Hans is essentially just waiting for like the FBI to do their thing.
Yep, go through their terrorist playbook.
Yep, because he knows what the terrorist playbook is, and part of that is to shut down the power to the building. And it's like, why does he want him to shut down power to the building? And then we finally figured out, because after getting through all 6 of the locks, the last and final lock is some kind of magnetized lock or something. And the only way you can open it up without like the proper codes or whatever is if there is no power to the building.
Yep.
And so when the FBI cuts the power to the building, which is part of standard procedure, that finally allows them to open up the final lock
and
get to the money.
Once the lock is open and you see the door just slide open, it's such a big vault, and I understand they're going after bonds, but I was expecting there to be more things in the vault. I think I want to say I seen some like samurai armor in there. I think.
Yeah, there was like some antiques, it looked like.
But like I was expecting there to like just be like, you know, the bonds, but then also like, I don't know, diamonds, jewelry, you know, things like that. But I guess they just held on to bonds and antiques.
Remember, the building is still under construction.
Oh,
so maybe in the future they were going to add more to the vault.
It's kind of confusing though. Like, the vault was on the 30th floor. Like, why the 30th floor? Wouldn't you want like the vault like lower down lower, so like in case if something did happen to the building?
Don't ask me, I'm not an architect.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, a very high-end, sophisticated vault for like the 80s, but like it just kind of defeats the purpose being 30, you know, on the 30th floor, when most vaults I've seen are like in the basement or at ground level type of deal. But
now, is this one, we're about that point now, I think, when Hans is off checking things, because at some point that does get back like the charges, but he's running around and he's checking stuff out and he's making sure everything's where it needs to be, so they can essentially set themselves up to blow the tower for their grand escape.
Yep.
And then he runs into John.
Yes.
He's off and he's up there checking like the wiring and stuff.
Hans and Carl run into John, and
Carl wasn't there yet. It was just, remember, it's just John finds Hans up there messing around, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And then Hans puts on his axe and he's like, "Oh, oh man, I don't know what's going on. There's all these terrorists running around and they're shooting people and stuff, man."
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I'm just you know, just an employee. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, that's right. That's
what happens.
Yeah.
I thought it was really clever too, because like you see him jump down, and then John's like, "What's going on here?" And it's like, "Oh shit, Hans is effed now." And then he just like, "Oh, I'm just a mild-mannered employee here. Please don't hurt me." And it's like really good. It's like really good. It feels very realistic, but you can kind of tell John's not quite sure what to think about this guy. Thinks it's a little bit weird that he's up here and he's managed to avoid like the bad guys and everything.
Right. Yeah, that would be a red flag right there.
Yeah, like he finds them a little bit. He finds the whole thing a little bit strange, and so he like tests them and he asks him who his name is, and uh, it kind of shows how smart Hans is, because Hans has apparently memorized everyone's name that works in the building, because he gives them a name. Because in the back behind Hans, there's like a board that shows a bunch of different people, important people's names. And
Oh
Hans isn't
yeah.
able to look at it because it's facing away from him. And so that's why John asks him whose his name is. And then when he tells him, he looks up on the board to see if his name is up there.
Oh
And so it just kind
yeah,
of shows you
yeah.
just how much time Hans has spent planning this, that he like knows the name of like everybody in the building. So he's able to give him that fake name.
Like I honestly wonder like how long Hans like cased the place.
Oh man, he must have been doing it essentially since before the building was even opened up. Like this is he had to have been planning it for like ages.
Yeah, because
he knew like every like the name of like all of the important employees, like the building layout, like what the FBI was going to do when they showed up. Like he's a criminal mastermind.
yeah,
And you can see it. Like in that scene, I think it really just shows just how much time he has spent working on this. And then Han notices that John's not wearing any shoes, and he looks down and he's like, "Huh." And John's just like, "Haha, could have been worse. At least I wasn't caught with my pants down."
yeah.
It was funny, but this gives Hans useful information that he didn't have before.
Yeah, because up to this
then,
point, he didn't even know what John looked like.
Yeah, he didn't have a clue what this guy even looked like up to this point. He had no idea. But now he's gotten all this information. But at the same time, even after essentially passing John's test, when John hands him that gun, he doesn't put any bullets in it, which is really just shows how paranoid and that John's like a really smart guy. That he doesn't give him any bullets in the gun because he still doesn't completely trust this guy that he just met. Like he's still suspicious even after that test that he gave Hans.
Yep. And it also kind of shows that Hans like really doesn't know a whole, like, this is a little off topic, but Hans doesn't really know the difference between a loaded gun and an empty one.
Well, it might have just been a handgun that he wasn't familiar with, but I don't know. Like Hans doesn't check to see if there's any bullets in the gun. You think he would have checked. But maybe
Right.
he just knew that John was too close and he just didn't have enough time. He just assumed it must have bullets in it.
That and like if he would have like checked, like it might have like kind of like thrown, John off a little bit. Like, well, I gave you a gun; it would have bullets in it. Like,
I don't know. Like I said, it just feels like the cat and mouse games that they've been playing. It's just more the cat and mouse games.
yeah,
Like he's testing the waters. He doesn't know who this guy is. John doesn't. But yeah, Hans tries to shoot him. Whoops, no bullets. And then John's like, I see. And Hans is like, shit, gigs up. You got me, bro. Psych. And then John's like, you're not as smart as you think you are. And Hans is like, no, I really am. Because right then Carl shows up. Carl and the rest of the goons come up in the elevator. Which did feel slightly convenient.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how Hans knew they were going to show up right. Or maybe they were planning to rendezvous.
I think they were.
Must have been planning to rendezvous.
They were. I believe they were supposed to meet up after they got done doing all their checks
there,
and
that's
whatnot.
probably why Hans wasn't that concerned when he went to fire the gun, and then it didn't. He didn't have any bullets. He's just like, whatever. I know the guys are going to show up suddenly.
Yeah.
He wasn't really that fazed by it. But now that whole thing with John having not acquired shoes throughout the whole movie comes into play, because when he's trying to escape, Hans is like, he's not wearing any shoes. And Carl's like, what? Shoot the glass. What? I should shoot the glass, you dumbass. He does not have shoes. And it's like, Carl's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, Carl, you're not really that bright, are you? He's just muscle.
Damn you, airplane guy.
So anyway.
I had to.
So moving along. Yeah, that's probably the biggest firefight of the whole movie, because they are just shooting everything, just peppering that floor of the building with bullets, trying to take out John.
Yeah, because they just happen to be on the one level that has like nothing but like glass panels
Yeah, there's a
everywhere.
crap ton of glass panels on that particular level of the
Like,
building.
hey, we're gonna make this floor completely see-through, basically.
Yeah, well, puts a lot of glass on the ground and with no shoes. John has a pretty bad day getting out of that sticky situation. He gets his one foot gets cut up real bad
Oh yeah, like
trying to escape.
blood everywhere.
Yeah, he takes a lot of glass to his foot. He's in a pretty rough situation because of that. For the
And
rest of the movie, he's a little bit on the crippled side because of it.
yep, he's just kind of limping around. I mean, he still gets around relatively easily, but like
You can
it,
tell it slows him down.
yeah, he's just ever so slightly slower, and
But it was a great payoff. I mean, we've been essentially like you essentially spend like an hour and a half of this man running around without any shoes on, and then it all pays off with that whole having to pull all this glass out of his foot.
yep. And
Like,
then, we get the iconic 80s trope, shirtless dude.
yeah, like somehow he's lost his shirt because that's what happens when you get enough bullets shot at you in an 80s action movie.
Well, you see,
Like your shirt just disintegrates for some
well, no,
reason.
this is actually very intelligent because he ended up using that beater he was wearing to bandage his foot.
That is true. He does use his shirt to bandage his foot, so it's
So, like, he
Yeah, it
didn't
all
technically
kinda-
get rid of it, but he's not wearing it anymore.
well, he is wearing it on his foot.
True.
But yeah, but we get a really awesome. I shouldn't say awesome scene. I should say like a very like bro scene between John and Al
Oh,
when
yeah.
he's in the restroom and John's trying to patch his injured foot up, and him and Al are talking about being on the force and
Yeah.
like their lives, and hey man, you married? Yeah, I'm married. I got 2 kids. You married? Yeah. You got any kids? And Al's like, wife's pregnant. First one's on the way. And they just have like this moment, where they're just kind of becoming like they're really cementing their friendship.
Yep, and then you find out why Al isn't actually on the streets anymore.
Yep. Because he killed that third he in the line of duty, some kid was running around with like a water gun, but it looked like a real gun.
Yep,
And Al ends up shooting him and killing him.
yep, and he just decided he couldn't bring himself to pick
Yeah.
up his gun again, so
Yeah, he just couldn't draw his gun after that, and it's like, oh, it's a real dark moment in the movie,
yeah.
but like he's really opening up to John, like telling him this deep, dark, like secret almost, like something, like this horrible time in his life.
Yep, and
Because
I think he's doing that to like try to give John like some hope because like at this point John's kind of like I don't know if I can go on anymore. I don't know if I'm gonna make it out of this alive.
yeah, it's definitely the lowest point in the movie for him. Now that he's had that foot injury, he's afraid that he just won't be able to deal with the terrorist robber guys anymore with that injury. Yeah, him and Al really forged that bromance they got going on.
Oh yeah, which honestly I liked that because like throughout these like small little interactions between John and Al, there is just so much character build up. So much you learn about each character,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that because you just don't really see that a whole lot anymore.
And they do it by talking on a walkie-talkie to each other, and they just forge this friendship over
Right?
a walkie-talkie, and it works. It works. It feels so real, like the whole thing. It feels it's so well done.
Yeah, like that's just I don't know. I loved it so much. Just those little interactions that they just put in there, it worked.
It does. But I think now we can finally get back to what the newspaper guy was doing, running around collecting information, because he finally knows John's name, and he's been trying to collect information, and he finds out that his wife is in Los Angeles, so he shows up at Holly's home, and essentially the newspaper guy essentially forces his way into the house.
Yeah,
by
blackmailing
the maid.
Yeah,
not a nice guy.
No, by no means.
And then we get to see Hans watching the news because he's been keeping an eye on what the news has been saying. And then we get to see John and Holly's little girl go, "Mommy, Daddy, I want you to come home." And then like Hans just has like this moment like, wait a minute, McClane, Holly McClane. Wait, what? Son of a bitch. And he picks up the photo that was laying face down in Holly's office. And then he's like, and he like turns, and he looks out of the room to where Holly is, and she's just like, "Oh, son of a bitch." And he brings her, and he's like, "Hello, Mrs. McClane." And it's like, oh boy, cat's out of the bag.
And like Hans tries to like boast about it to McClane or to John, but at this point in time, John's fighting Carl.
Oh yeah, man, and Carl is pissed because John killed Carl's little brother.
Yep, so he's getting revenge, and
they beat the shit out of each
other.
Dude,
holy crap!
Like it's pretty brutal beat down watching that fight. It looks like something out of Rocky.
Yeah, like
the fists are flying.
Fists, feet, elbows, fucking knees. Like you name it, they're throwing them.
Brutal like melee between them. Because Carl could, like try to shoot John, but he just kind of wants to beat him to death with his bare fists.
Which is understandable. I mean, like,
yeah, he's like, "You killed my brother, you dirty rat."
It's like even before the whole thing goes down, he tells John, "I would just shoot you, but this is personal."
Yeah, shooting you would be too easy and quick. And Carl's a big guy. It makes sense that he thinks he could just bludgeon John to death.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the person that actually played Carl, I think back at that time, like I want to say he was like a wrestler or a bodybuilder of some sort. So he was actually
he looks like it.
So he was actually perfect for that role.
Here to find out. Actually, he was a ballet dancer.
What?
Film actor. No, that looks like him. Oh boy.
Oh.
Yep. He danced.
Well. Yep. Oh wow.
Ballet dancer and film actor.
I was wrong then. My bad. It must have been one of the other dudes, the part of Hans's group.
That was. He was, man, that guy was, you could tell he worked out.
He must have lifted the ladies a lot.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. Those ballet dancer guys need to be in great shape. But that's funny. Like, yeah, he's like a boxer or something, right? That's great, Billy. I'm glad I checked.
Well,
so off.
I mean, like, just given his stature, man, like.
Sounds like he was pretty famous ballet dancer too.
Oh yeah, it's a shame he died at the age of 45 though.
Yeah, he died young.
Like he died just like a few years after that movie.
1995. Wow.
Like what a shame.
But yeah, so Carl dies in the movie.
Yeah. Gets a chain wrapped around his neck and
yeah, it's a pretty brutal death.
Yep. John takes him for a ride.
Now, after this is when John starts running around trying to figure out what Hans was actually up to. Like, why was he up there running around in that part of the building? And that's when he discovers that Hans has set the building to essentially explode.
Well, the rooftop to go boom.
Roof to explode. Yeah, it's part of his escape plan.
And
is to kill all the hostages.
Yep. And so, and at this point, Hans's men are shuffling the hostages up to the roof to get quote unquote extracted.
Yeah, because he's like, yeah, I'll release the hostages onto the roof, man. Just bring the helicopters in. And so the FBI think they've got this. They've got this dick. They're gonna come in there. They have snipers, and they're just
Yeah.
gonna snipe the what they believe are terrorists, and then save the hostages, and then they can go home.
Like, and they're saying that they would be okay with a 25 to 30% loss on the hostages.
Yep. And they look at each other and they're like, acceptable losses. And I was like, phew, that's brutal.
And like the one thing I never could understand, like this would make sense if he had long hair, but Big Johnson, like before he readies his sniper rifle and everything, he puts on a hat and turns it backwards. Like, what is the point of that? Like, you're not really keeping anything out of your face with that hat because your hair wasn't long enough to get in your face.
I think it's just kind of like he's just getting himself into the zone. Because remember, he says, like, it like reminds you of Nam, doesn't it?
I thought he said Saigon.
That's probably what he did when he was in Nam. He probably put the hat on and turned it backwards before he went on a mission. So it's just kind of like a little thing he does.
And Little Johnson was like, I was in junior high.
Yeah, I like how the other Johnson gets angry at him, like, bro, I was in junior high. You're so old. So, but yeah, they think they got it all figured out. But so John runs up onto the roof because now he knows that the place is going to explode and all the hostages is going to be killed. And so he takes out a couple more of the robbers, I believe, at this point.
I think
and
so,
then
yeah.
He tries to get everyone off the roof by, just firing bullets in the air, just like, get the hell out of here, get the hell out of here. And the FBI guys think, oh shit, this is a terrorist. He's going crazy. He's like shooting at the hostages, and so they try to kill John.
Yeah,
I kind of feel bad. John's having a hard day here. He's has multiple injuries. He's been running up and down in this building through air ducts and shafts and almost dying multiple times.
And I understand that like some of most of the people that have like met John before all this stuff went down have been killed, but like at least the one pregnant lady that met John, kind of met John when he was like, everybody needs to get back downstairs, this roof is gonna blow. Like, you'd think she'd be like, all right guys, let's go downstairs. But no, everybody's like, what's going on? Why do we gotta go back down there? Huh? And that got John to be like, well, fuck this. If they're not gonna listen to me telling them, I'm just gonna start shooting the gun in the air.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Except, like I said, the FBI tried to kill him.
Yeah, except for the FBI.
But yeah, it works. He gets him off the roof before it blows, and essentially that's the point where he really fucks Hans's plans by getting all the hostages off the roof like that.
Yeah, like at least the hostages were safe, and he gets to do a little Tarzan action.
That is true. To escape, it was kind of over the top how he uses that fire hose to jump off the roof.
Right.
But it's an action movie. You forgive them for going a little bit over the top for stuff like that.
Like up to this point, everything has been like basically realistic.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a couple times, there are a couple things. It's kind of like, okay, this is very 80s actiony, but yeah, like probably like 95% of the action in the movie feels very realistic. Like, you're not going to roll your eyes and be like, well, that's dumb. That would never actually happen. Yeah, but they do that. It's definitely a little over the top, but like I said, 80s action movie. As long as they don't overdo it. Like, right. If that was like the entire movie, him doing crazy shit like that, I'd be like, okay, guys, calm down a little bit. It's the right amount of crazy.
Yeah, like it was acceptable. It
was the right amount of crazy over the top. But he goes down to confront Hans then.
Yeah, and at this point, like, he has, like, I don't think he has any ammo left in the machine gun.
Yeah, like, he's essentially down to, like, 2 handguns, I think is what he has bullets for.
And he has, like, 2 bullets left in the handgun, and he's just like, what do I do? And then he sees packing tape, I think.
Yep. Yeah, it's some kind of duck packing tape type stuff.
Which makes for like an amazing, like that must have been very difficult for him to do, to tape
Yeah,
that to his back.
he
Like,
tapes one of the two guns he has to his back.
yeah. And he goes and confronts Hans and the other dude. I don't.
Like the Texan, I don't even remember what the guy's name was. But
Yeah, like I think he was like the only actual like American other than
yeah,
the
I think he
nerd.
was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the rest of them were like Europeans because most of them were speaking in German.
Yeah, and like
And that's where we get that famous yippee ki
yes.
from Hans. I believe you told me yippee ki motherfucker.
Yep. And then like I don't get why Hans didn't actually shoot, or did John get the first shot off on Hans?
I know John like yells at Holly like Holly duck, and then he like grabs the gun off of his back awkwardly.
Right? Like and he was really quick about it too, because he was not only able to get a shot off on Hans, but he was also able to get it like dead in the fucking forehead on the other dude.
Yeah, the other dude was like it was an instant KO.
Yeah, and you just see Hans just like stumbling backwards, still holding on to Holly.
Yep. He has like a death grip on her as he tumbles backwards out of the window that I guess was broken. Because remember, all the explosions have broken a lot of the windows in the building.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of the windows in that building were like all shattered just from like the shockwaves of the explosions.
Yeah, because there were multiple explosions.
Yeah, there's at least I think 4 explosions.
Yeah, the building is pretty wrecked.
Yep, and like,
but then the real crime of the whole movie comes because John has to try to remove Holly's Rolex.
Oh, yep.
Make sure for Hans to lose his grip. And it's just like, I can't do that to a Rolex. Come on.
But now,
come on, man.
Now, Hans did take a sweet ass time, because by the time he realized, ooh, hey, I'm still holding my gun, and I could easily shoot John.
Yeah, it did feel like there was a little bit too long of a pause before he tries to take a shot at John, because John's really struggling to remove that Rolex.
Yeah, like it took John like a good 30 seconds or so to
I don't know if it did feel like they slowed down to like bullet time almost. Like it's like he's like fucking around. I'm like, okay, Hans is gonna shoot you in the face. Why hasn't Hans shot you in the face yet?
Yep, and then just as Hans is getting it all pointed at John, he unclasps the Rolex, and you just see Hans just be like, fuck.
And Hans falls to his death.
Yes, which was a shame. Because, like, the Hans and John, that was, like, a very great cat and mouse kind of game. And they honestly, I don't feel they should have killed off Hans.
I mean, if they were gonna do like bring him back in the second movie, I suppose, but I don't know how they would have did it. Like he's hanging out the edge of this building, outside the edge of this, it's not very realistic.
And chances are they probably, more than likely, when they made this movie, they probably really weren't expecting it to be as popular as good.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
Yeah, it did amazing. And, now, like, everybody's getting hauled out of the building by firemen, EMTs, police officers. And John finally gets to meet Al.
Yep, their eyes meet. They look deep into each other's eyes, and they're like besties for life.
And they just start laughing and they hug each other.
Yep.
And that was like that was all that was needed to be said there. Was like
it really was. Yeah, like it's just like they're just laughing, and there's just this relief. They're both alive. They both made it out. They're both going to see their families again.
Yep, and like, and of course, John was like, Holly or Al, this is Holly, I forgot her maiden name.
It's oh, I have it somewhere. Gennaro.
She says, Al, this is Holly Gennaro, and she's like, Holly McLean.
Yep, that's what she responds with. So, you know, it's a very subtle, easy way to show us that you know, things are looking good for them.
Yep.
Like they looking like they might be able to work it out.
And then, you know, of course, got to get a little jump scare going, you know.
Yep, the villain always comes back for one last attempt to kill the heroes.
Because, like, Carl just shoots up out of the fucking body bag with a gun.
Which was great.
Which, like, okay, if he's dead, like, if you think he's dead, why would you let him keep the gun?
Yeah, why would you just be like, oh, we'll put the gun in the body bag with him? That doesn't make any sense.
And then you finally, and then Al gets closure, because he pumps Carl full of lead.
Yeah, man, he pulls out that iron on his side and just like he shoots him 3 or 4 times too. Like he unloads into him.
With how his gun sounded, it sounded like he was like using a Desert Eagle or something.
It was a pretty big gun he had there. That was a pretty big six shooter. Very, very Western.
Yeah.
I'm not a gun guy. Don't look at me.
But like it just sounded
like a pretty big, heavy caliber gun there, man.
Yeah. And like a lot of people were thinking, well, like, how is that possible? How did Carl survive? He was hung. Well, if like people were to pay close attention to that fight scene, as McLean's wrapping the chain around Carl's neck, he gets his hand in there.
Ah, so it didn't quite suffocate him.
So he was more or less just trapped there. So he was able to like keep the pressure off of his throat and all that, but he was just kind of trapped there.
Yeah, just enough that it didn't kill him.
Yeah, it might have knocked him out because I'm pretty sure there would have still been like loss of oxygen. But
don't ask me. I'm not a doctor how that would work, but it's plausible that it wouldn't be enough that he wasn't dead and he was just faking it so he had a chance to try to kill John.
Yeah, like I mean, he did look a bit burned up because I believe where he was at was fairly close to the roof explosion, but
maybe.
And then we get to see our favorite limo driver again.
Well, yeah, Argyle shows up. I think we kind of skipped a little bit of what Argyle did because he takes out the safe cracker.
Oh yeah. He took out the safe cracker.
He took out the all that because he was down in the basement trying to get stuff set up to get ready for them to do their big escape, and Argyle slams into him with the limousine and then just punches the guy out.
Yeah.
I hope Argyle stopped and told one of the police officers before, like he had John and Holly jump in the limousine.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
One of the terrorist guys. He's in the building over there in this van that I punched him out. You should go pick him up.
I'm sure.
Mention that to somebody.
If not, then that safecracker got very lucky.
Yeah, then he escaped.
And I'm pretty sure he probably also had the bonds.
I'm going to assume he did talk to somebody before he left. It's a minor point.
Yeah.
But I'm going to assume he did. So they get to Holly and John, I guess, have reconciled. They're going to go home and see the kids and do Christmas stuff together at their house, and then we get the end movie credits, which are "Let It Snow, Let It Snow," because it is a Christmas movie.
Hold up, you can't forget about Holly punching out the newsman.
Oh yeah, well I mean, honestly, like yeah, it was kind of the news guy's fault in the first place that Hans found out that she was John's wife, which essentially put John in super danger since he had to confront Hans, which he would have had to after the whole thing on the roof.
Yeah. Like if that was never, if the news guy never did that, Holly would have been up there on the roof, and Tom would have got him back down, and probably wouldn't have had to shoot his gun off because Holly would have been like, "Yeah, guys, let's get back downstairs."
Yeah, because she had kind of unofficially become put in charge after.
Yeah. And So that would have
Takaiga was killed.
yeah. So that would have made things a little bit easier. But the news guy kind of fucked everything up.
But it's where the news guy pays off, because like he's kind of been wandering around the whole movie, like he's looking for a story, but he really doesn't do anything till almost the end. Like he finally does something important, which is essentially give Hans the clue he needs to figure out who Holly was. So that's why he was important. But there's a lot of those little things like that. There's a build up. There's a build up and a payoff for a lot of those little things. Like same thing with Argyle. They could have easily brought Argyle in, dropped John off with the limousine, and then just drove away, and we never see him again in the rest of the movie. They could have easily done that, but they don't.
Yeah, which is nice. Like I like those little subtle things.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things like that they use throughout the movie. Things that happen, and then there's a big payoff. It just takes a while before the payoff happens.
Yep. And oh, hold on.
Okay, I'll just let there be a bunch of silence, because people enjoy large spaces of silence.
Sorry,
like the end of
like my throat's like getting dry or something. I don't know.
Oh, what's that? Did you also manage to catch a cold for Christmas?
I don't know. I think I finally did.
You gonna join me? That's great. You got a great Christmas gift. I gave it to you through the internet. You should be happy.
Oh no, you're not even safe online now.
Yep, the cough can reach you through the internet. We're gonna have to turn it off. We're gonna have to turn off the internet now.
But any final thoughts? Any gripes?
I just enjoyed that the end of the movie was just let it snow, and as they're driving off limousine, but you can still see fires. Buildings still kind of on fire. You see fires, and the firemen are kind of like putting stuff out still. And there's Christmas lights up on the trees, and it's like, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, I love this movie to death. Been watching this movie just about every Christmas for like the last 7 years.
It's a Christmas tradition.
Yeah,
for a lot of people, actually. It's kind of reached that point now over the years that it's become a pretty normal part of a lot of people's holiday things.
Yeah, before I started watching Die Hard on Christmas, like I used to watch like Ernest Saves Christmas or like something else, like other holiday movies, but now it's just like, oh, first movie I gotta watch, Die Hard, every time, every year.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely become very popular over the years with a lot of people. It's got its own Christmas cult following, you could say.
Yep, but to this day, there's a lot of people out there that don't consider it a Christmas movie.
It will always be controversial, but
booey to that.
Do you do? You're never going to convince everybody to watch Die Hard for Christmas. There's always going to be those more traditionalists that want to watch like something like Miracle on 34th Street or whatever.
It's not a bad movie.
Something a little more modern, like The Santa Claus or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, but like no, this has become one of my usuals. Like I'll sit down and I'll watch Die Hard, and then I'll go on to the more like traditional Christmas movies that I used to watch. But now it's always Die Hard as a part of that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the same boat. I always watch Die Hard as part of my Christmas to watch list.
Yep, and just because it's an all around great movie, it really is.
Like I said, everything it sets up, it all ultimately pays off.
Yeah, like that. I just love the older movies, man.
Won a bunch of awards, got nominated for 4 Oscars. Not bad for an action flick,
right? But
the funny part is, it like came out in the middle of the year. It didn't even come out like around Christmas time, if I remember correctly. It came out in like June or July or something.
Really?
Which is kind of weird.
Hey man, Christmas in July.
That is true. Christmas in July. So, anything else to talk about? You think? I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, we covered just about everything that I wanted
Unless
to
you have
anyway.
Hilarious catchphrase or something. I think we can call it.
Yeah, this has been a Garbage Media podcast.
Yep. Holiday special. See you next week, I guess.
Yes, see you all next week. Have a happy holidays and a safe Christmas.